Not every parent's love comes naturally. Some children grow up in homes where words, instead of lifting them up, cut them down and leave invisible scars. You see, the things parents say have incredible power. A single sentence can shape the way a child sees themselves for years, even decades. Imagine hearing over and over again that you're not good enough, not beautiful enough, or not even wanted. Those words don't just disappear, they echo into adulthood, creating pain that many people carry in silence. In this video, we're going to talk about 6 horrible things toxic parents often say to their children and how those words can leave lasting damage. Stay with me until the end, because recognizing these toxic patterns could completely change the way you see your past, and even your future. Many people grow up believing that parental love is automatic, something every child naturally receives. But the truth is, not all parents are able, or even willing, to offer the love, care, and safety their children deserve. Sometimes their own struggles with mental health, addiction, or unresolved trauma turn into patterns of neglect, criticism, or even emotional abuse. And when you grow up in that kind of environment, it can feel so normal that you don't even recognize it as toxic. If you ever felt like you had to earn your parents' approval, hide who you were, or carry guilt for things that weren't your fault, you are not alone. In fact, millions of people in the U.S. share similar experiences. That's why in this video, we're going to uncover some of the most damaging phrases toxic parents use, and the hidden impact these words can leave behind. So let's get into it. Here are 6 horrible things toxic parents often say to their children, and the lasting damage those words can cause. Toxic parents often disguise their hurtful words as jokes, honesty, or even discipline. But the truth is, children believe almost everything their parents tell them. And when those messages are cruel, they don't just vanish. They settle deep inside, shaping how that child feels about themselves for years to come. Let's look at 6 of the most damaging things toxic parents often say, and why these words can leave such painful marks. 1. Insulting appearance. The first one is about appearance. A toxic parent might say things like, "You're so ugly," "You're too fat," "Your hair looks terrible." Sometimes these comments are wrapped in sarcasm or just teasing, but to a child, they're sharp knives. Growing up hearing these words can create body image issues, low self-esteem, and even eating disorders. A young boy told that he's too small might spend his teenage years obsessed with building muscle, not because he enjoys it, but because he feels unworthy as he is. A girl criticized for her weight might learn to hate her body long before she ever has a chance to love it. Instead of teaching children self-acceptance, these comments plant seeds of shame that can take decades to heal. 2. Mocking behavior. The second toxic phrase comes in the form of mocking behavior. Phrases like, "Why do you walk like that?" "Why do you talk so weird?" "You're so awkward." These words make children feel like there's something fundamentally wrong with them. Kids naturally look to their parents as mirrors. If the parent mocks, the child learns to feel embarrassed simply for existing as themselves. Over time, this can create deep social anxiety. That little boy who was teased for the way he spoke might grow into an adult who's terrified of public speaking. That little girl who was told she was weird might shrink back in social settings, always afraid of standing out. Instead of encouraging authenticity, these parents teach their children to hide, to silence themselves, to believe that who they are is never normal enough. 3. Emotional punching bag. The third example is perhaps one of the cruelest, using children as emotional punching bags. This is when a parent says things like, "I wish you were never born," "I should have had an abortion," "I wish you were someone else." Imagine the weight of hearing that from the people who are supposed to love you unconditionally. These are not just words, they are assaults on a child's very existence. Children who hear this grow up feeling unwanted, as if their life is a mistake. And the damage doesn't end in childhood. As adults, they may struggle with depression, self-harm, or a profound sense of emptiness. Words like these tear down a child's identity at its core, leaving them to question, "Why am I even here?" 4. Making kids feel like a burden. The fourth toxic phrase is when parents make their children feel like a burden. Statements like, "You cost me too much money," "You're so much work. I gave up my life for you." These words create guilt so heavy that children start to believe they are nothing more than a problem to be managed. A child who hears this might stop asking for help even when they desperately need it. They learn to bottle up their emotions, to solve problems on their own because they fear being a burden once again. As adults, these same people often struggle with asking for support in relationships or at work. They may overwork themselves, people please, or hide their struggles, all because deep down they were trained to believe that their very existence was too much. 5. Toxic comparisons. The fifth phrase is all about toxic comparisons. Why can't you be more like your brother? Look at how successful your cousin is. Other kids are better than you. Comparisons like these are devastating because they teach children that they're never enough as they are. Instead of nurturing individuality, toxic parents push their kids into competition, sometimes even against their own siblings. This can breed jealousy, resentment, and lifelong rivalry within families. A child who constantly hears comparisons grows up chasing approval, never feeling worthy of love unless they outperform someone else. And in adulthood, this can lead to burnout, perfectionism, or a constant fear of failure. Because if love always had conditions in childhood, it can feel impossible to believe in unconditional love later on. 6. Threats of abandonment. Finally, the sixth toxic phrase is the threat of abandonment. Words like, "I'll leave you on the street. When you wake up, I won't be here anymore." For a child, nothing is more terrifying than losing their parents. When parents weaponize this fear, they create deep wounds of insecurity and distrust. A child who grows up under the shadow of abandonment often becomes an adult who struggles to trust anyone fully. They might cling too tightly in relationships, terrified of being left, or avoid intimacy altogether because the risk of loss feels unbearable. At the heart of it, these threats teach children one devastating lie: that love can be taken away at any moment for simply being themselves. When we step back and look at these 6 patterns, insults about appearance, mocking behavior, emotional rejection, making kids feel like burdens, toxic comparisons, and threats of abandonment, we see a clear picture. Toxic parents use words not to build their children, but to control, belittle, and break them down. And while the words may be spoken in a moment of anger, their effects can last for a lifetime. Growing up with toxic parents can be incredibly confusing, because when you're a child, you don't know any different. Their words and behaviors feel normal, even when they cut you deeply. You may have spent years blaming yourself, thinking, if only I were smarter, prettier, stronger, maybe they would have loved me the way I needed. But here's the truth: their cruelty was never your fault. You did not deserve those insults, that rejection, or that emotional neglect. Those words reflected their own pain, their own limitations, not your worth. And while the scars may still hurt, recognizing these patterns is the first step toward healing. When you can name the abuse, you take back some of the power it once had over you. It doesn't mean the past didn't happen, but it does mean you no longer have to carry the shame that was placed on your shoulders. If any of this resonates with you, know that seeking help, whether through therapy, support groups, or simply opening up to a trusted friend, is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of courage, of choosing to break the cycle, and of building a healthier future for yourself. We've just gone through 6 horrible things toxic parents say to their children and the painful impact those words can leave behind. If any of these felt familiar, remember, their behavior does not define your value, and you're not responsible for the wounds they caused. Healing is a journey, and simply recognizing these patterns is already a powerful step forward. If this video resonated with you, share it with someone who might need to hear these words today. And if you want more content about self-growth, healing, and understanding life's challenges, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss future videos. Thank you so much for watching. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next one.